movement shooters, or the slightly ruder and more amusing moniker boomer shooters, have never really been my thing. I enjoyed my time with Dusk while it lasted, but I could never really get into the more hardcore titles like Doom. I grew up playing Call of Duty, Halo, and Counter-Strike, decisively slower-paced and methodical approaches to first-person shooters, if you can allow me to say Call of Duty is methodical. Admittedly, I didn't really understand the point of Doom and other shooters like it. Why does my character feel like they're constantly on roller skates? Why is ammo management so demanding if I'm supposed to constantly be firing? And why are my bullets so goddamn slow? I had endless unfounded complaints about these games, so when I heard about RoboQuest, a movement shooter turned roguelike, I didn't really think much of it. That is, until I saw its reviews. Overwhelmingly positive on Steam, with almost 10,000 reviews. Glowing reviews from media outlets. Even some very popular YouTubers had it in their best games of the year list, in a year where spots on that list were particularly competitive. I do like roguelikes, so I made a gamble and I tried out RoboQuest, hoping that this one might just make sense to me. And boy, did it end up making sense to me. RoboQuest is a blisteringly fast and surgically precise first-person shooter. And it's also a true roguelike. You fight your way through a few stages, fight a few bosses, fight a final boss, and then boom, you're done. In true roguelike fashion, an entire run only takes about an hour, and then you're sent back to a hub world where you can upgrade stuff from the currency that you've gathered. Synergistic builds are abundant, and cool combinations of skills and upgrades seem to naturally emerge while you're on a run, just like they do in the best titles in the genre. There's a few different characters that you can choose to play as, and each has different active and passive skills. As you level up, you get to choose perks that buff your character in ways that you see fit, and some of these can increase your stats like crit damage and movement speed, and others can completely alter your character's skills. Along the journey, you're also going to find shops that sell an assortment of different upgrades. You can buy passive buffs, upgrade your current gear, and even gamble some of those hard-earned resources. This is all pretty standard stuff for the roguelike genre, but it is worth noting that the recipe that they've cooked up here is a very good one. I play a lot of roguelikes that come out, and most fail to find a good balance between these things, and so fail to bring me back into the fold after I've done a few runs. RoboQuest does not have that problem. I am always checking to see if I have time for another run after I get done with one. And I think one of the reasons for that is due to how often you are encouraged to trade out your weapons. You see, guns in RoboQuest have randomly rolled affixes, which are passive buffs that alter how your guns behave. You might find an assault rifle that has a 15% chance to shoot a shotgun blast every time you pull the trigger, or you could find a rocket launcher that fires homing missiles that ricochet onto nearby enemies and light them all on fire. The deeper you get into a run, the more affixes your guns are going to have. So when you stumble on something that has like 6 different affixes on it, you know that this thing is going to shred. And these things just drop from random enemies, so you are constantly going to be comparing your current setup to the one that just dropped to see if it's any better, just like how you do in loot games like Diablo or Borderlands. And these affixes have the potential to significantly change guns, so you are constantly going to be picking stuff up just to try it out. A gun that you didn't like a few runs ago might be incredible if you get it with the right roll of affixes. Your build will change multiple times during the run because of this system, and you'll feel these large boosts in your effectiveness immediately. As far as the roguelike genre is concerned, I haven't had this much fun during a run since Risk of Rain 2. And the overall polish and attention to detail that this game has is incredibly impressive by itself. Don't believe me? Walk up really close to one of these signs. What do you see? Individual red, green, and blue subpixels on a billboard in a game that never once calls attention to it. Insane. But all of this is only half the story. The other half being the silky smooth, narcotic-infused, speed limit refused, and violence-amused combat. Enemies are everywhere, but luckily they don't really have a lot of health. So after you take down one, you are quickly on to your next target before you even register what's happening. And you have to, because enemies shoot fast and they shoot often. Sure, they go down in a few shots, but so do you, and if you're not constantly on the move, you'll get a glimpse of the bullet hell that the devs tried to hide in this game, but only for a second. When enemies die, they drop healing orbs at their feet, but they disappear after a second or two, so when you take damage and you need to heal, the solution is to play faster. All the levels are also timed and rank you on both speed and experience after completion, so you are rewarded even more for blitzing through an entire level and killing everything as fast as you can. Movement is key in RoboQuest. Luckily, the game makes it pretty easy for you. You have a double jump, you have auto sprints, you have slides in any direction that preserve your momentum. You have boosters, you have jetpacks, you even have rails littered around every level that you can ride on. You have a grappling hook, you have triple jumps, you have blinks, you have movement speed buffs, you have super jumps, you have rocket jumps, you have ground pounds, you have so many tools at your disposal that are so simple to use, yet so incredibly impactful. Earlier, I mentioned that I didn't like how Doom feels like you're on roller skates for the entire game. In RoboQuest, one of the upgrades that you get is literally a pair of roller skates. Because they get it. They understand that this fast and fluid movement is just one of the many necessary ingredients in these games. And now, thanks to RoboQuest, I get it too. After having this revelation, I quickly booted up Doom to confirm my suspicions, and it was true. I was now zoomin' and doomin' like my boomin' forefathers before me. I now get why these games are so highly praised. There were a lot of FPS games that came out this year, from BattleBit Remastered and Call of Duty to the finals and Counter-Strike 2. There were a ton of great options, but my pick has to be RoboQuest. Because not only did I get a fantastic game in its own right, but I kinda got an entire genre too.